we should get started any moment now. We have quite some few people missing, but I'm pretty sure they will either join or let us know or listen to the recording. So I just want us to all give you a very warm welcome. We're really happy that you'll be discussing DAOs and decentralized art institutions with us. It's a very exciting topic. And without much ado, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. I will share my screen as well. So let's see if you can see that. Can you see the nice presentation?
Yes.
Amazing. Let's see if I can make it bigger. So I thought this is the first time presenting this version. Usually it's very technical. So I thought I'd ease into the technicalities with philosophical journey, just to give you a taste of the wider DAO flavor, not just everyone's sales pitches. So how did we end up in DAOs and running DAOs in these decentralized situations? So this was just before I met Miko. Got into crypto early 2017, just missed that first hype, and was traveling at the time and was watching this growing crypto, very excited. Started getting a few tokens here and there, and then during that time was looking at initiating a business. So in 2019, we set up a physical property DAO called Yoga Box, aimed at nomadic travelers and supporting a decentralized lifestyle. So we tested that really early with communal living and not on-chain voting, but discussion between residents in the community and what assets to maneuver and where for shared growth. So this was really our foundation into DAO thinking and our whole philosophy there. After shortly, and this is actually when we met Miko. So we set up the next box venture after Yoga Box. There was Media Box, and this was a media incubation DAO, again physical, but we focused on incubating metaverse, AR, and gaming based businesses. This particular event we did here really inspired a lot of the future, which was this was a sex tech metaverse brand. So they have an online platform and physical interaction tools, all aimed at sex positive communities and non-binary, and showing new identities. Really, really interesting stuff. And the philosophies, discussions around metaverse, the future of humanity, lots of really interesting things came up in there, including, this is when we actually met Miko a few years ago, a very early NFT. If anyone, Miko, obviously, who founded VerticalCrypto Art. So we were really early on discussing some quite innovative, forward-thinking ideas there. And at this same time is when the first Moloch white paper came out. So I'm sure you're all aware of the Bitcoin white paper and Satoshi, his technical essay about how we should decentralize assets. And then this Moloch white paper was a facetious white paper about coordination in society. So it started to introduce DAOs. It's the first DAO protocol, Moloch DAO. So the actual technical people behind it made the first smart contracts to initiate consumer DAOs. So people who aren't heavily technical could just make one. But it was very centered around what they call the problem in capitalism, which they ironically call the Moloch problem, and that we take our passions and focus them in a centralized place that doesn't serve the community. So read the paper, it's really, really interesting. And this was a foundational thinking in lots of the technological people who created DAOs. So that's like your blockchain foundation there. And then, and then, so this shows like that first version of network thinking, ecosystem thinking, and how Web 2 would like to empower its community rather than the Web3, sorry, wants to empower its community rather than the Web2 Amazon model or Instagram model, etc. So you can see there on the graph in Web2, i.e. Instagram, Amazon, etc., the investors and the capital class keeps and makes all the money. Users are just data aggregates in that, and we're suggesting we go to a flat future where people own their data, what they create, and this is all linked into a network benefit effect of decentralization. And the history of this, it's not anything new, to be honest. It's just an evolution, and we now have some blockchain tools to support this natural evolution that we've always been moving towards. But if any of you old enough to remember the way we used to sit and watch 5 channels on television, and this was our only source of media and information from the news, and then as the graph shows, you can remember the birth of MySpace and then Facebook, Twitter, and the way people started to fracture information and community groups. And then later, we actually started to take education from these. So YouTube, now TikTok and Instagram, the way we create content, people are very much used to learning a hell of a lot from YouTube rather than specific universities. So we've decentralized education through a network there. And then again, now scaling 2010, 2020s and pictures you can see on the graph, things like Twitch, micro groups on TikTok, and then other further decentralized aims. We're really pushing these micro content creators, and the way we source information has just fractaled out in that way. Which brings me to, I'd say, from our side, the most exciting philosophical manifesto from the DAO space, but it fits alongside a spectrum with the rest. But this Cyberwitch Manifesto, which was written by Dr. Lucille Hort, and she's an artist, a curator, and a researcher in Paris, and they highlighted something that was really interesting that we started to see on these earlier DAOs and formation, that the intersection of what she calls spirituality, politics, and technological emancipation is where lots of these new thought groups meet up. So the blockchain, technical emancipation, politics, very much DAO people, and then there's a spirituality coming in with the non-binary, transcendent, and some of the creatives like digital NFTs, AR, and this network of different interested parties is kind of creating a social evolution in that Moloch DAO framework. So these two philosophical evolutions and technological evolutions are moving forward in a political way, which is a very interesting sphere in DAOs. Which brings me on to this, which is the exact opposite. So all of this previous history I talked about was before what I'm calling the age of ape NFT. And last year, as we know, was the year of ape NFT. So when people, if you call yourselves an NFT artist, most people think you are creating this ape and they stare back at you blankly. But this also propelled the market, and it was a mixed thing. It was probably actually very good for the community, but this is the level and mentality that the first populist wave, I suppose, of NFT adoption created. I'm sure, as you all saw last year, it was apes, the punks, any metaverse land plot, and already trying to aggregate. So what we can really see is old school consumer thinking, capitalist thinking, like greed and scarcity thinking. And this is was, to be honest, first popular iteration of NFTs and sub DAOs, and so that was that, but it did increase the funds, the eyes, the awareness, so this is all good as well. And then the future aims of Yacht Club, the rest of the NFT producers and networks, is these later decentralized aims that we're talking about. So I suppose in opposition to that, I'll roughly describe what we do in ArtSect DAO and then go through a few of other DAO structures so you can see what other people are doing and methods to try yourselves, and even questions to ask to point problems in anyone's plans, because they are not perfect. So currently, most DAOs, especially in the NFT world, are collectors DAOs or investment DAOs. So a small group of people that have pulled together some crypto punks or some lots of Ethereum and is a closed investment network. And where we really want to get to is a a decentralized layer of creators that can be empowered at any point they choose by plugging into a variety of services, whether that's their DeFi, their media creation, their sales channels. But importantly, we're trying to ensure that we all manage this and that no one party can kind of take control, take the profits or direction of what we're building. So this picture on the side on the right is our method in ArtSect. So we have focused on our main stakeholders of artists, curators, and patrons, which are the token holders. And then these three groups are given complete control, access, and voting power over where we go as an organization, what we show in our exhibitions, and what exhibitions we do carry out. So it's a really interesting flat hierarchy mix, and it gives everyone the opportunity. Lots of artists want to be curators, lots of curators want to be patrons and do different sides of the organization. And it gives room for those patron token holders to grow into other artists or exciting people in the organization. So that's what you receive when you first join ours. We use a brain, which is a brain NFT, and we will go into the NFT mechanisms for voting later in DAOs. So those are some pretty pictures of some of the events we ran in our gallery, and then some of the cool stuff we started to do from there, from the physical space. This was our first AR takeover as a gang. So we bought plots in OVR and Superworld, which are those AR decentralized metaverse things. And then we uploaded a whole bunch of artists' work from England and the UK into Art Basel, Miami, in the actual festival, and then allowed everyone to come through. Also, this was a really, really good example of an emergent, I'm going to call it a DAO of DAOs. So the Metaverse Music Festival set up by Natalie Crew last year, which is going to run again in October and November. So check that out. They ran a festival across multiple metaverses, all connected to a DAO. Over 200 artists, 25,000 attendees, but more importantly, there was fashion groups, music groups, everyone, all the different creators created really interesting things under each banner, fashion and music, etc. But this all linked to the purpose of this decentralized music festival. So really, really cool, forward-thinking people there, and it was amazing to be a part. I encourage all of you to go be a part of them. And another one that really inspires, obviously, Unicorn DAO. They were set up by the Pussy Riot founder, as I'm sure you all know, and they're focused on, in opposition to the one I'll show next, specifically LGBTQ and women identifying artists, and giving them awareness and a stage, a platform. If you look through their website, they'll highlight there's such a small percentage of these audience actually have room in the arts world anyway. So this is specifically why they set up there. So super, super cool people and systems there. Pleaser DAO is an example of an investor DAO, but a very good one. So everyone loves them. I'm sure I'm speaking to people who already know about this, but just in case you don't, Pleaser DAO set up around the artist people pleaser, and they first pooled together and purchased one of their works, and then now they focus together as this growing and increasing revenue collective on purchasing quite cool works. Actually, I think they're a really modern curator buyer collective, and yeah, I think they make some really good choices. I think entities like this, even though it seems early, simple investment DAO, I think they will be really strong curatorial features in the future ecosystem that we're all building. Same with Unicorn DAO and Vertical Crypto Art. So these communities, I think, will start to emerge as curators in that wider framework, the same way as like hashtags work on Instagram, maybe. And then a more complex version of DAOs, Aave. So Aave is also a DAO, and there's quite a few protocols. Uniswap 2, I think, took it even more seriously, and dissolved their physical entity, so they don't even have an entity. They're a true DAO, and that all of the token holders, people that use the service, are in some way joined to this voting mechanism that is looked after by guardians and connects to a public treasury, the company treasury, and there's some very interesting mechanisms there to create extra profit for the user base and the future of the organization, rather than, if you looked at this as old Barclays setup, then the money and organization would just flow straight to the shareholders and directors and would have zero going to the bottom level, especially decision making, which is super, super important. Just to break DAOs down, this is actually from R1, but technically this would work for everything. So I suppose the layers of a DAO are your pooled assets at the top, which is your crowd-funded DeFi money layer. So your bank or your treasury as a collection, and then whatever incubation infrastructure you're using, which would be Gnosis Safe, Snapshot for your voting, Source Cred, lots of different things, but essentially you'll have a technological layer looking after your safe of assets of NFTs or money, and you'll be able to vote on those together on this second layer. And then usually that's plugged into some kind of marketplace, metaverse, or whatever your front end activities are that would be generating that revenue. And then when you break that down into your verticals, this could be shops, it could be AR walking around on a canal or a river and experiencing AR work in plots, or it could be these beautiful metaverse worlds that people are making on Decentraland and stuff, all the nice ones in the future. So if anyone wants to dive in, by the way, and ask any question at any point, just do.
There's a question in the chat.
Oh, I had it on a large, so I didn't see. You mentioned buying plots. Did you have an agreement? No, it was initiative to infiltrate. And we did it as well to another NFT gallery that opened in London. I'm not going to mention that, but no, it was completely non-agreement, and we just did it, which I thought was the spirit of the NFT and decentralization, in that we were tenacious enough to find these plots, get them, and upload the artist's work. So we quite like that element of these AR plots, is that you can do it whenever you wish, and we now have them, by the way. So if anyone ever wants to use them, we've got over 200 AR plots, Central London, Amsterdam, Paris, lots across America, Central Park, New York, etc., and Miami. So yeah, honestly, if anyone ever wants to use one or several and put up some AR exhibitions unauthorized and put that across social media, that is always there. So yeah, that was super fun.
What was the reaction from Art Basel? Did they embrace it, or did they ignore it, or did they engage with you at all, or what happened?
They personally, I suppose, ignored it on the big PR end, but then the following months after, it really was a big catalyst, actually. So everything we've ever done has been non-sanctioned, but we are currently helping one of the big auction houses design some NFT courses from some of the things we did. Art Basel got back to us and said, yeah, would you like to come do that again this year properly in Hong Kong and Miami? And so, yeah, it actually worked really, really well, even though we were sanctioned. We weren't bad with anything. So I suppose it just showed innovation and fun. And mainly we brought lots of artists who didn't get that chance. So, yeah, I think the right people had to buy in, I suppose, when you do the right mechanisms, because we took undercover artists and people we found, the same as VerticalCrypto Art does, sent them out there, had the reactions, and it just worked well and was nice enough for, I don't think, anyone to have a bad reaction for it. And this is always a really good technique, I have noticed, because I mentor with Outlier Ventures too, so we see lots of businesses, and you can tell the energy of people, whether they're truly decentralized or not, by like their actions and how they're acting as a community. So Crypto Portal in Prague, another NFT gallery, IHAM gallery in Paris, we're all really, really good friends. Ashumi from W1 curates, and yeah, there's zero competition in DAO and NFT world, or there should be. So we all took our open sourced philosophies from the tech people, and we're trying to make this work for creative communities. So any theory that works, we should all be happy to share it and just bring each other up. So any entities that don't do that, and you feel that energy off them, I'd probably leave it, because they are in that Web2 mentality. But as soon as you feel that, like, want to give and share and different knowledge sectors that people are trying to push on you, then you've probably found a good community and true philosophy there. All right, I'll get back, because this is actually, I suppose, the most important bit of the DAO teaching is the voting mechanisms. So, and I just want to keep reiterating, these are still very rudimentary and set up by quite capitalist mentality. So I'm not actually going to say any of these are right yet. They're just currently what people have tried and experimenting with. And we should try and experiment more and share this knowledge until we find a system that really can work scaled out for the whole world. But yeah, so in the DAO, if we all made a DAO now and we had our MetaMasks, and we could set one account, one vote. So this would be, I suppose, fair in one philosophy, that everyone here, if we all had our MetaMask account and we voted on an issue, let's send £10,000 to VCA to do their next exhibition. We could just vote on that very simply now. But then problems with this mechanism are that people can game the system and create more accounts. So it's quite easy to gain more votes there and get a different weight, which is a bit sad. So that was a first try. Token weighted voting is what lots of people do, but really just incentivizes like money and profit behavior. So if I've got 1 million tokens and you all have one, and we do a vote, pretty much what I say goes, and what people who haven't invested that much say doesn't go. So it works for people controlling lots of capital, but it's not what you would call like democratically fair, I suppose. NFT access is quite cool, so that's how we start our holographic, which I'll explain at the end. But you send you use your NFT as a token gating mechanism, so anyone who's bought the ape NFT thing can now join this big DAO they've made, or gain entrance into the Bored Ape Yacht Club place. So yeah, NFT access is, I think, it's quite a good way. You can send it to people for free, you can reward it, people can mint it, and they can buy it online. So there's a few ways you could let people enter into NFT access into a DAO. Lazy consensus was a cool one, actually. I quite liked it, but you've got to have a lot of trust with your gang. So basically, this means all decisions go through after a period of time. So you could set 3 days, and that after 3 days, if I'd send £10,000 to Miko, then that would just go through if nobody had flagged up and voted no, basically. So it's like an automated mechanism to make things happen very quickly. And again, I think if you trust your gang, everyone's on the same goals, targets, and focus, and grouped in a really good philosophy, I think that's a really liquid decision-making process. Bear in mind things, so City DAO did really well. They did like a 20 million or a 200 million pound raise, but there's so many people on, I think, a token weighted or a one account, one vote mechanism that they find it really, really hard to actually make decisions. Whereas if they were on, like, they just can't do it because no one agrees, and therefore you can't release the money. Whereas if they're on a lazy consensus, you could probably roll through those decisions in a week or two much easier. Quadratic voting is cool. Sorry, I was reading another question. Quadratic voting uses like a square root mechanism. So I'm not a mathematician, but if I had 10 tokens and you all had 1 token, you would get 10 credits and I would get like a certain amount more. So it attempts to scale the inefficiencies from token weighted voting into a bit more of a manageable thing. And then multisig voting is just the original, which was a bunch of people bunch of accounts grouped together on a multisig, which you can set 1 person, 3 people, 5 people out of your group to just action a thing. So if it was 1 person per 12, they would just, anyone could vote, send this here, and that would happen. Or if you needed 5 people per 12, then any of those 12 would have to make a group of 5 to make a decision, and then that would be weighted there. The one I didn't mention on here that we currently use, and I think a lot of people are looking for that in the future, is what people are confusingly calling a holographic, a dual token holographic consensus mechanism, which basically just means you have 2 tokens, and that stops certain arbitrages happening. So I'll explain how that works for ArtSect. We release the NFT brain, which, as I explained, the brain can give access, votings, and proposals. So this brain council sets proposals for the rest of the DAO. They're the only trusted party who can write what's going to happen. And then this second token holding patron layer gets to vote on those decisions. So there's a staggered decision-making capacity and money flow in the organization, in that the patrons, token holders who care mostly about returns, they get to do that. So they can buy 1 million tokens and they can vote more with their 1 million tokens, but for the reason of money. But they can only vote on the decision-making capacity of the NFT brain people who have been curating and organizing shows for a very long time. So you can have a guardianship in that community that our brain holders hopefully are only going to set proposals that are right for the arts curators and patrons stakeholder community, and therefore this should create ideal growth through the situation. But as I show on my next slide, everyone is just trying. So we've all got an idealized utopia, an idealized DAO, an idealized economy, but we're not there yet, and people are literally just trying and making this up. It's really, really new. So first of all, give everybody that chance to fail, I suppose, and don't see them as the final products, but also recognize that this is a really, really new evolving market, and like it's us shaping it. 6 months, 2 months, just second by second, we're all adding up and shaping this thing. So join in, put your decisions in, and as artists, I suppose your opinion matters the most in this situation. There's a lot of tech people, NFT marketplaces, and VCs building things out of your decision-making view, and the whole point of this is to not do that. So we need to, as artists, creators, and general creatives in general, we need to educate ourselves more in that decentralization and take hold of that sphere, like we didn't do with Instagram and Snapchat and stuff, because we still voted them as a collective, but we probably just did it unconsciously. So now we need to be more conscious about our voting decisions. I'll answer that question quick. How does this AR metaverse work physically? Well, it's in AR, so it's not physical. Some require Google 3D view, so nothing can be shown inside. Some require Google 3D view, so nothing can be shown. I don't get the bottom bit, but so the AR usually works through any device. So I'd probably have an iPad, a phone. Like you say, there's 3D glasses, a variety of heads-up display screens, but you're going to be viewing it firstly through a thing. Like AR is never there. It's obviously just in the platform, but you're highlighted physically to that. So if you're walking around the physical Art Basel Miami and you've either been given the location or you know the location on this OVR app, and you would have it up or open it there and go to the area, and then you'd be able to see it and show other people. So still kind of rudimentary. I suppose one of the cool things people are getting on there, the first cool thing they released on OVR was that other avatars can join you. So if you put a fake thing here, if I put a sculpture here now, you could actually log on your Ready Player Me avatar and log into the OVR plot and see me physically, but also see the AR sculpture in AR and digital. So that's quite interesting, the way you can have online interaction with physical people there. But you still always need an AR app thing. And I suppose a quick one on that extra, because we're quite into the wearables. I think when AR plots meet wearable Instagram, Snapchat technology, which some are quite close, that will be really, really cool. In that you could walk into this physical store and then try on an AR garment and take your selfies and enjoy it and show it around. I think that would be really cool. And it's not that far. Not that far. So DAO future. This is what I'm actually most excited about and a bit worried about in the future, but I'll get onto that. So I think any one DAO by itself is just going to be too small and not have enough data and a big enough community to have a large enough effect. So really, most DAO people have realized now that it's a DAO to DAO coordination situation. So how are we all going to group together, share? Most people on DAOs are usually part of a few, is what we've started to notice. So many people are like the same people over and over again. When you see these organizations, it's just like super DAOish people trying to help and connect. And then it's really obvious too as well. If you look, if Arve is trying to do a banking thing, we're trying to do an arts thing, and some of the metaverses are trying to do their gaming hosting thing, and really these would have to work together in order to get that net value and net effect. So I suppose that's kind of an obvious, but people have been a bit walled garden so far because everyone wants to create the massive ecosystem themselves, kind of like everyone releasing lots of layer ones when we could just use Ethereum or Flow or Polygon. But so this is naturally where we need to get to, but then also as a protective mechanism, there's this thing called M&A, mergers and acquisitions, which is what finance VCs excel at. This is their chessboard that we are watching when we're maneuvering on the whole industry. And this is going to be something really, really, really scary in that lots of DAOs could create tokens, ecosystems, and really, really perfectly functioning communities for those stakeholders. And in the future, investors could just buy them up like Facebook and be like, okay, we'll have the unicorn DAO and we'll have Please a DAO too, and a few flamingos. We'll just take that and integrate it into art, which would be super sad news for all of us. So the way things called token swaps are working in between DAOs is really interesting. So if we've got 1 million voting tokens, and so as Please a DAO, it's probably more beneficial for us to swap half or a quarter or an amount from our treasury locked between each other's institutions to secure that. I mean, it's kind of the same model what the big hedge funds use, and they're all shareholders of each other. It's top murky, like oil, energy, war conglomerate, and that what we're saying is having the opposition, and we could have refi and the yoga boxes and these different physical, sustainable communities connecting with the artists that enjoy those and the different people, universities, and we need to build our own, basically. So let's do it. Are there any DAOs you think are worth checking out? In terms of, like, yes, I would say, because you caught me off guard with the question, I don't know if there's any DAOs that will be able to give you a full-on job or remuneration outside of the revenue models they create with their investing yet. So that's a very hard thing about DAOs. But in terms of whether I think there are ones worth checking out and people should join, like definitely. And I think all of the activisty underground arts DAOs, or even the big ones, Please a DAO, Unicorn DAO, R DAO. I'll get a list in a second at the end and put it through in the chat because it's an important one. But do join any and help them. So don't see them as a thing like, oh, I'm going to join, manage to pay me like my job, but maybe see it as a fractal institution that you might also be able to bring a little special nugget to and develop further than you think. Yes. Yeah, that is the vibe. 100% cross-pollination and exchange of knowledge. So let me really get an answer to that properly for you, and I'll get back to you at the end. But this is exactly where it should be. Cool. Thank you. Okay, that's just what we're doing. Some kind of roadmap. It's a artifact from our old VC days. Oh yeah, that's if anyone wants to contact moi. And yeah, just considerations which I think I layered in that they're not fixed and they're not done yet. So we're all trying. It's very fluid. It's very stressful. There's 1,000 things going on at once. And it's just a place where you're listening and trying to understand more, especially I'm supposed to have founded some DAOs, etc. And I'm always trying to listen and ask questions more than ever, set a philosophy, because I think it's really important that certain groups or centralized entities don't ever do that. So we just need to keep ideating and asking. I mean, how does this feel? Does it work? Etc. So yeah. And I think in this very messy situation, I think this cultivate purposefully for diverse groups is really important. So if you've got your, as Lucille Hort said, your spirituality, politics, and technological emancipation triangle focused, you will be passionate and you know what you'll need to do for your group or what you want to do it for. So I strongly advise taking that mentality. Anyone who's just out to get money will probably be washed by all of the AP M&M posts going on and not really know where to focus their attention. But if you have focus and purpose, then I'm sure you'll actually make something for your community and really help them, because that is happening now. So questions and thinking about which DAOs you should check out. We just formed the Metaverse Fashion Council. I don't really want to say DAOs that I'm just a part of, because that's terrible. But Metaverse Fashion Council, we just set up not long ago, and we're in ideating across the whole globe for Metaverse standards, but ones created by creators, not big conglomerates. ArtSect DAO is cool, otherwise we wouldn't have set it up. Refraction DAO I think is really cool. They did the Decentralized Festival, like mostly in America, but it's growing. So that's like a really interesting new fractal. Obviously, Cult DAO, they're very economic focused, but they gave us a grant, and they give grants to people very focused on decentralization. So they gave a grant to Pussy Riot, and they also gave a grant to Anonymous to wage decentralized cyber war, and you could read all of that on their Discord. But they're like fully anonymous, fully deep crypto native, and so check them out. Cult DAO, they're quite funny, but good friends too, and they're like supporters of the whole ecosystem. There's a really small one called Soda. If anyone's in London, Club Soda. Yay! Channel is an interesting model. Chanel, what of a DAO creates? I haven't heard of Chanel, but yay, Refraction. And there's one in.
Channel is it's Holly Herndon. It's a conglomerate of the Interdependence folks and the New Models folks and Josh Citronella. And basically they moved from like a pay Patreon for their podcast to kind of seasons of NFTs. And if you own any of the NFTs, you get a custom link to all three podcasts. And then the NFTs can go up and down in value depending on the season. So anyone can join anytime if they buy later season NFTs, but the earlier you adopt, the more value. So for example, I am not a huge NFT collector, but I love their content. So in season 3, I might sell my season 0 and buy a season 3 to keep listening to their podcast and turn a profit.
Interesting. Yeah, sounds brilliant. So many different models. So yeah, come hang out ArtSect. I think we're going to organize something with VCA anyway, so that hopefully there'll be a gift in the future, because we want to onboard and create more than we want to sell things. Protein DAO in London, very cool, and Soda DAO, a music DAO, both very cool. And if anyone's interested in that sex tech metaverse thing I was on about, they're called Raspberry Dreamland, and they're setting up a DAO that will be, you're going to enter, again, the same dual token holographic thing as our brains I described, but they're going to have a clitoral flower as their avatar to enter the sex tech metaverse and be part of the DAO. So kind of cool. And one more quickly before I finish, because this was our inspiration, and I'll like it kind of phased off. I don't think they ever carried on, which was sad. But look at the model they use. So Museo DAO, like Muse with a 0 at the end, and it was made by the Flamingo Neptune people, with an alien. They said it was a CryptoPunk alien that ran the DAO, and it was a donation-based NFT gallery thing. So it was actually an inspiration for us to set up ArtSect, but I think we just carried on and they didn't. But check that out, because it's a really good model. And if you ever want to look at DAO House, Colony, or some other one, Super DAOs one, there's loads, Aragon, to make your own DAOs. It's actually really, really simple. It's the same as like minting an NFT. You mint a thing with your friends, and then you've essentially got a shared wallet that you can transfer NFTs between each other, or so come up with some experiments yourself. So I think that is me. That is the end of the talk. I hope that was okay for everyone. Does anyone have any questions? Or any worrying gaping holes that you want to be like, crazy people are making arts DAOs and not thinking about this. It's terrible.
I have a question that's probably a really noob question, so sorry if it is, but If you're in a DAO and you have invested something in it and you want to leave, can you do that? How is that managed if your asset is part of the treasury?
So originally they had this thing called Rage Quit, which was in the Moloch DAO, because theirs was very like gamer mine. They had like guilds and stuff. So the original one was Rage Quit, in that you could just quit and take your portion of assets. And then there was a time when people started blocking that happening. So if you join the Museo DAO, which I said has now gone under, that's a bad example of that, because we donated a load of works to their thing, and the treasury went up, but you have to vote to get it back if you want to leave the organization. But then they just disappeared and never spoke to anyone again. So all of those assets are untouchable. Like, we literally gave several of our beautiful and much loved crypto voxels plots to them so they could do events, and now they just sit there and no one will ever probably use them again, which is sad. But so that didn't work, and that's really bad. In future models, people are looking at, again, various different things, but yeah, you're right, it's really important. And I so in ArtSect as well, we're always committed. If anyone wants to, this is an interesting point, whether you bought or were given the NFT as well, because in our system there's ways for people to buy to access the organization, but a lot of the people were in first given their NFT just on long-term services. So in that case, we've made it that anyone could, in theory, sell their NFT object and become remunerated in like losing their own position. So we've always thought that's a cool one, because you're completely, it's up to you. It's like you can hold a brain and you can vote in the organization, or you can put the brain on the marketplace and sell it and not vote on the organization. But we've given them that free will and that choice. Someone said, "Oh yeah, AR Metaverse is super world, but this is not great. Not very Web3." And why I say that is the plots are really big, so they don't bring in the best ecosystem, and OVR has smaller plots, cheaper price, and therefore creates like a bigger ecosystem, I feel. But have a look, those are AR metaverses, and then Pixel Links is Dead Mouse's thing that's coming out soon. That is quite cool. And there's a thing called Xzone as well. But these are all new. If anyone's good, everything's made on Web XR, whatever it's called, Web AR, which is the new version of Web GL, and you can make stuff really easily on it. I'll show you. If it loads, Aqua One. So this one, this isn't AR, this is a metaversey one, but mixed. So we had an exhibition in the gallery physically for the One Collective, a women's group of artists from Hackney Wick, and then so they created this goddess exhibition physically, and then there was a temple you could climb inside, put the VR headsets on, and then go into this Aqua One world. But yeah, so they made this on WebGL, I think, but they were describing Type 1, how the ability to code these assets with Web AR really easily on a phone is actually very easy. Is a DAO tied to one blockchain, or can it be multi-chain? Like, in the same way that NFTs are currently multi-chain. So like, technically, no. If I've got a CryptoPunk and I've like got a Polygon wrapped version of this CryptoPunk, it's not it inherently. It's just like a weird mirror of it. But there are methods in which we are mirroring, because you need to, and this is going to increase. So I definitely think for the future, DAOs have to be multi-blockchain, but there's not the greatest system to quantify that right now, if I'm honest. Like if we released on Ethereum and all of the tokens gained up in value, and then we mirrored this on Polygon and gifted everyone the same items, it's very unlikely those things would get to the same price value or be used in the same way. But for the future of that DAO to DAO stuff, if anyone's heard of Remark, RMRK, which is the polka dot NFT thing, like they're really, really good. So they are like positioning themselves to work cross chain, multi branch, compostable as NFTs and DAOs and all sorts. Unfortunately, Tezos DAOs that I recommend. I don't actually know enough Tezos situations to know any DAOs on there, unfortunately, which is really, really bad. I think. Yeah. Does anyone know any Tezos DAOs? Fake whale?
I mean, there's been talk of an FX hash token, but it hasn't happened, and I think FX text took priority.
Interesting. If it's not, I personally, as a bit of a ex-advertiser and business person, have never, unfortunately, personally seen that the Tezos ecosystem is huge, but like I do really appreciate and support that Mikhail and Vertical and Boria and all of you guys have really do push the Tezos ecosystem, and it has got a lot of hope for the future. So if there isn't a big DAO on there, maybe you guys should all make one, because I think the technology is right from the business. It hadn't had enough commercial pushing like that Decentraland platform or Flow and its many deals with NBA, etc., has done. But there's still room for that, and there's still the market share to grab. So, yes, I'm down too. I'm down too. I think, yeah, I actually think you should. I mean, like Miko, you guys, the crypto Tezos communities going and like the most authentic, definitely. And so I saw the proof of people that you manifested in. I've never been to Fabric the Club before, so this was my first time going to the Fabric the Club, and like it was insane. It was really, 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 really cool event, interactive. So why didn't VCA make the Tezos DAO? Well done, Nathan. Love it. Love the enthusiasm. So,
Woohoo! Well,
yeah.
any, does anyone else have any questions?
Just to say, this has been really inspiring and great. I appreciate both your kind of enthusiasm, the fact that you've done it and built it, and also your like vast array of knowledge of the kinds of things out there. Thank you.
Cool. Oh, thank you. I don't know sometimes, so hopefully that was good. Like, we're just freestyling, like all of us. But amazing.
Awesome. By the way, Miki, we actually did meet in Proof of People. You, I, you had a workshop on the same topic, and I was helping out with the tick. I don't know if you remember.
I remember. I remember.
It was very nice. I had a lot of fun listening to your workshop over there, and that some of the things that you said now are something that I've been wondering since then, and it's really cool to hear it again and with new eyes. You know, hear it with new eyes sounds weird, but no worries. So thank you so much for the presentation, for taking the time for us. And by the way, tonight we have a residency lounge Twitter space. It starts at 6 p.m. UTC. You're absolutely welcome to come join us. It's a loungy, fun space. And reminding to everyone, if you haven't submitted your spotlights, go ahead and do so. And again, thank you so much, Miki. Hope to see you again soon.
Oh,
I think
thank you very much, guys.
I think that the tagline of our Tezos DAO should be to listen with new eyes, because I am very pro cross-modal perception. I'm into it.
I love it. Listen with new eyes. Quote for the
Listen with
day.
new eyes.
Okay. Ciao, ciao then, everyone. Thank you very much.
Bye,
It was
everyone.
really
Thank you
great.
for
Thank you.
joining.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Boria. Good day.